Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Hi, this is Ken O from Canton Chambers, Louis. Today is 6th of November, Wednesday, 5 o'clock here in New Zealand. We are going to have a Facebook Live today as well. And then I think most of the people are well preparing of the end of year. This is almost like November now. We got only for 2 months left for this year already. Okay. Today is we have already informed you, and then Immigration Department they announced of some the change of the policy. Not actually policy, for they announced of like a change of the N score, ANZSCO. This is for Australia and New Zealand. The government they contributed together, and then they make some for job list, and then job classification, and job for skills, and then also some jobs for major for requirement, and also major job description of that. For example, as a lawyer, and then lawyers for like a job skills a certain level, and then what is the requirement for working as a lawyer, right? And then this is kind of things like more details of the each jobs requirement, and then they make some standard for classification, and that. So we call this N score, ANZSCO, right? This is for N score. Immigration Department they like change it, the N score, some version, and then immigration announced that okay, initially for the Australia and New Zealand government that contribute for together to make that for the N score requirement, and then got a new version. They are going to use it, and also announced that a new version is like will be on effective. However, until that time, and then they are going to for exception. So some skills like in N score, they got some for requirements. There's skill level 1, skill level 2, skill level 3, skill level 4, skill level 5, and then most of job they identify as a skill level they run. So it depends on skill level, depends on for job description in the N score. This is a basic for standard for assessment of the visa in New Zealand. For example, essential skills work visa, and then skilled migrant category in there. But Immigration Department they have already announced that in the future, and then now we are using for skill level requirement, depends on the skill level, and then depends on skill level and depends on the payment rate. And then sometimes we call this as a lower skill, middle skill, and a higher skill. And then the visa period will be for 1 year or 3 years or like a 5 years. But in the future, when they change the whole visa system, they are going to change the systems only for they will use for not 3 categories for lower skill, middle skill, high skill, not anymore. They are going to say for lower paid or higher paid. They are going to change for around like middle of like 2020. That means around mid of next year, they are going to slowly change. But until that time, they think lots of for jobs which belongs to lower skill. That means for in an N score, like a level 5 and the level 5 and level 4. This is not a good job, and then in New Zealand to apply for the residence visa in New Zealand. However, they will say exceptional. That means for which job currently in the N score belongs to lower skill. That means level 4 or level 5 can be recognized can be accepted as a skilled job. That means that if you those jobs in the exception, they can apply for the residence visa, because this is a immigration will accept as a skilled job. You can see the background why the immigration for adopt of this exception. That means even though this job skill is a lower skill, but this is like a big demands in New Zealand. Like so many people working in that industry. So as I told you before, mentioned before, in the future, maybe around the sixth industry, for example, healthcare industry, transport industry, for like a construction industry, they are going to make an agreement with the New Zealand government as a sector agreement. This is for, we can see this is kind of for like some transitional period. That means for bigger demand industry, like lots of for people working in those industry, but we need those people. But however, under the current systems, they are lower skilled, so they don't have any options like to apply for the residence visa in the future. Even though currently, if they belongs to for lower skill, for example, level 4 and level 5, they can apply for the residence visa. However, their salary shall be like a very high, around more than $80,000. Over that, they can still like pay, skill apply for the residence visa. But currently, realistically, and then this is not impossible, because a lower skill means that it doesn't any employer cannot pay for such a higher the salary. So in any way, the New Zealand government listen to the New Zealand employers or like New Zealand employers for industry. So New Zealand government is quite closely work with New Zealand employers for, and also like industry. They listen to the for the real people who work very hard, and then through the work they got an income, then they pay the tax, and then government receive the tax, more tax, then they can spend the good money for the people who is a taxpayer. Right, so there's a reason why New Zealand government is a really good government. They listen to the people, and then they are trying to help the people in New Zealand, right? So there is a reason why I always like talking to other people. Oh, New Zealand government is really good government, right? Not much corruptions, and then no bribe. Like all the government offices are really like a clean. They are fair, and then government offices always try to help the other people as well, right? So we think this is very common, but some country, oh my God, New Zealand government really for good government, and then they are really envy, right? Sometimes, oh, I want to be like live in New Zealand. Okay, New Zealand is a really good country. Come to New Zealand, right? And then all the tax payment, they collect the money, and then they pay all the tax to the all for the benefit of the older people, right? So this is very transparent, very clean government. Okay, let's go back to for the job. So for example, then I can briefly talk to you for some major like jobs for, okay, if you go to immigration website, and then for, or like a immigration manual, then you can see for there's a glossary, and there's appendix 7. Appendix 7, if you go to appendix 7 of the immigration manual, then occupations are treated as exceptions. That means if you see the N score, these jobs are like a lower skill. That means a level 4 or level 5. That means that technically you cannot apply for the residence visa with this job title, because this is a lower skill. However, immigration says, okay, this is an exception, even though in NSCO, this job is like recognized as a low skill, but immigration will recognize you or accept your job as a skilled. That means you are qualified for apply for the residence visa. Okay, so some jobs is for like a child care worker, right? Child care worker. Before, like a child care teacher, registered teacher only can be skilled, but now for child care worker can be skilled, right? I think this is a skill level 4. And then family daycare worker. And then so also like out of school hours care worker means for any after school like a care worker also. Teacher's aide, like a teacher, not a registered teacher, for teacher aide also like the skill job. That means any overseas like teachers, they got a job as a teacher aide. That means that this job doesn't need any registration here in New Zealand. So if you got a job as a teacher aide, this is also like a very good, right? So child or like some youth residential care assistants for refugee worker, beauty therapist, also this job. Tour guide. This is a very good for like some tour guides. And so far in New Zealand, we got so many tour guides, right? But like this cannot be recognized as a skill. But now they got some recognized as a tour guide. And travel consultant. This is good. And civil celebrant, and then bungee jump master, fishing guide, hunting guide, and then mountain glacier guide for outdoor adventure instructor, like a trekking guide, and then bookkeeper, right? This is a bookkeeper. This is really good. So usually for any like accounting degree, if they work as an internal accountant in the company, they are always tackled. Okay, your job is not accountant. Like you looks like some payroll or bookkeeper. So so many people got struggling to apply for the residence visa, even the title was accountant, but immigration recognized, okay, you are just a bookkeeper, not an accountant job. So for then the bookkeeper can be recognized as a skilled job. This is really good. So many people study about accounting degree, work for the company as an internal accountant. Then this is a really good job, right? And some bank worker for credit or loan officer, like there are so many jobs there, right? And then sew milling operator or sewing machinist, right? If you got some good for like some sewing machine, right? This sewing machine machinist is also skilled job nowadays. For waving machine operator, like there are many, there are, okay, crane or hoist or lift operator, right? I think this is really good. Like so many, okay, you can go and then okay, like a train driver, and then wastewater or like water plant operator, and then construction rigger, right? Personal care assistant, like a personal care assistant. This is a really good job. There are so many nurses like who study in New Zealand as a healthcare management, and they work as a healthcare assistant. This is a really good for like some personal care assistant. This is the same job, and then this is a good for older people, like who was, I mean, I can say for, I see so many people over there who was a nurse in their country. Then they come to New Zealand as for study in healthcare management level 7. Then they got a job in a like a nurse, as a rest home, healthcare industry as a healthcare assistant for like a caregiver, right? But they are so many cases are declined before. But this time, healthcare assistant, like a personal care assistant, can be recognized as like a skilled, right? I can see so many for like Indian people, like a Filipino people, they are nurse in their country, but they are school agent, a study agent, like tell them, okay, if you go to New Zealand for study level 7 as a healthcare management, then so you will be easily get a job, and then you'll be easily get a residence visa in New Zealand, then you got some very like some excited and with a very big dream and come to New Zealand for before, and then all cases were declined, and then cry, and then went back to the Philippines or India. But now this is really, really good news, really, really good news. Then if you work in now any healthcare industry as a like a healthcare assistant or like a personal care assistant, and then you can now qualify for apply for the residence visa. And if you meet the other requirement, okay, then I'll tell you for other requirement as well, right? So import and export clerk, and then driving instructor, and then insurance investigator or insurance or loss adjuster for, okay, like a paving plant operator, the logging plant operator. There are so many jobs in there. So usually for level 4 and the level 5 jobs, and then they recognized as a skilled now, right? So this is a key matter. Okay, hang on. My job can be exception or not? Okay, you go to for immigration the manual, and go to for in the last section for glossary, and then you can see for their appendix there. If you go to appendix 7, then there is some list of the exceptions. Before, only for one exception was there, like a prison officer was only for one exception. But now, this time, this job can be recognized from the 4th of like November, like last Monday. Those jobs, if you got those jobs, if you work in those jobs, so from the last Monday, the 4th of November 2019, now your job is for skilled, no more any unskilled, lower skilled, right? So any people, I think especially for any people, there are so many people work as a healthcare industry, right? Healthcare assistant, please contact us and we can help you, right? So for some requirement is there, right? Even though like those lists, and then you should meet at least for one more thing. Your salary shall be over $25. That means for exception in the list, and then your job, even though in the list in the appendix 6, and then one more requirement. This is for your salary payment requirement. Your payment shall be over $25 per hour, and then work for more than 30 hours. And then your job is even though in a N score skill level 4 and 5. However, if your job is in the exception list in appendix 7 of the immigration manual, then your job will be skilled, right? So that means for this is a very important thing, but so many people confused that, okay, whether if I get a job now, for my job is for, okay, in the list, for example, the personal care assistant or healthcare assistant, I'm being paid for $25 now. Then can I apply now, right? But however, other requirements you have to think about it, right? So then if your current job is for exception list, and also you are paid over $25 now, then you can get the 50%, 50 points of job offer, right? And also other requirements. So then you have to get some age, and then qualification, and also your experience, and then you got some job offer, right? This is a major the claim points. So that means that this is a question. If you work as an exception list, and then can you claim your work experience in those area as like a skilled job in the past? So in that case, you have to consider for, okay, only exception list is recognized as skilled. That means for your job, as for example, I can say for like a healthcare assistant. If you work as a healthcare assistant now, but if your payment is under $25, then so your job is a skill still not recognized as a skill yet, right? Your job will be like in the, even though your job is in the appendix 7, but your payment shall be over $25. Then from that time, your salary increased $25. From that time, your job will be recognized as a skill. So don't confuse, right? So those job is for like some can be skilled, cannot be skilled yet. So your payment shall be over $25. So when you claim your experience as for example, healthcare assistant, your past work experience was for like a healthcare assistant. However, if your payment was increased to $25 from the date, then so you can count as your work experience as a skilled, right? For example, if you work here in New Zealand for 5 years as a healthcare assistant, but for 2 years, your salary was maybe only like a $24. But from 5 years, like for 3 years, until 3 years, then your salary increased over $25. Then from 3 years, you can count as your work experience from that time. I think this is a little like confused. So that means for those jobs in the exception, you always think about first, okay, my job is for in the appendix 7 as an exception or not. Then second thing, then so whether my salary is over $25 or not, right? If you make the $25, then from that date, then so your job is as recognized as skilled. But if your payment is still under $25, but even though those job is in the exception list, and I mean for like appendix 7, but your job is still non-skilled, like lower skilled, right? Clear? And then also when you claim your work experience, then from the date of like those two requirements, meet those two requirements in the exception list, and then meet the $25 requirement. From that date, then you can count as for skilled experience, right? So don't confuse that. And then if you got any questions on this matter, please contact us. Then we will give you more the clear explanation for one by one, like face to face, right? And then this is quite complicated. And then so far new like a policy, and then this is a new challenge. And then so many people are confused, not clear yet, right? So, but I do for like a restudy of the manual, and then I found for this one. Okay, so if you got any questions, like please contact us. And then okay, you can say for visa apply, and then at cantonlaw.co.nz. This is you can send your CV or like any questions to here. Especially I can say for any bookkeeper or any like a healthcare assistant, right? I'm going to do more the marketing for maybe healthcare assistants maybe sometime, right? I know there are so many for nurses like working as a healthcare assistant. Please contact us. We will give you some special for like a consulting for you. So if you have any questions like a visa apply at cantonlaw.co.nz, and you send it. And also like before that, you please, when you see this Facebook Live and or video later on, please click for any like or the follow our main page. Then we will give you more updated news there, right? Okay, thank you so much. And then this week we are going to close our Facebook Live. And please do share of this video some other friends, your friends. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.